Today with me I have Ma'am Cynthia English, founder, or as she likes to call it, the Chief Happiness Cheerleader of Global Scribe Youth Uniting Nations. We welcome you, ma'am, and let's see her view on youth. How are you,
Thank,
ma'am?
thank you. Well, I think I'm as good as can be in this very upsetting environment that we're all living in over the last 2 weeks, right?
So, ma'am, first question, it's a little personal, but it's you have addressed in numerous amount of interviews. So it goes like, what's the relation between you and the Orion constellation?
Orion. Oh, wonderful. So, since I was a little girl, I have lived, worked, and traveled around the world. So, there were in my life, I attended 22 different schools. And in my life, there were only two consistencies: my mother and Orion, the star constellation. It didn't matter where I was in the world, and it still doesn't matter where I am in the world today. I can look up and I can see Orion. So Orion became part of the foundation, that logo of our Global Scribes Youth Uniting Nations logo. If you look closely, you'll see a star. And that really, for me, represented Orion. But for everyone, the meaning really is to understand that you are the star of your own life, and that if you look up, there is always light to guide your path through life.
So basically, we can say Orion constellation give you a perspective how to view world in more beautiful manner.
Absolutely. A compass to go by, right? A security that is always there.
So, ma'am, we can assure that we can make assumptions that in a very young age you saw world in a better manner than the kids were, right? Like the age when you were traveling the world, right? So, what's the difference that you saw every time you switched countries?
So yes, number one, I would say that I have always looked at the world through rose-colored glasses, right? And part of that, to answer your question, is because no matter where I am in the world, where I was, even as a young person your age, we're all just people with more similarities than differences. There are great people everywhere, and there are a few that are not so great. But I've never really seen those people. I've always seen the really positive energy, and to know that we all really strive for the same things in life is so important to me.
So it's basically like unity and diversity. So,
But
ma'am, Raghav wants to ask you a question.
yeah,
Raghav, go ahead.
so I wanted to ask you something. You said that you've traveled to, I think, 22 plus countries. So what's the one thing you learned from traveling so much? What's that one key skill set you've learned just by traveling so much? What's something?
So first of all, I've been to many more than 22 countries. I actually haven't counted them, but it's at least 80 plus or 90
Wow.
maybe. But I went to 22 different schools. I attended 22 different schools.
Mhm.
So what is my one big takeaway?
I see.
That the world, the more you can interact with people from around the world, and today we can do this virtually, the more open you are to others, the more you broaden your horizons, the richer an individual you become. Because everyone has something positive to share. And when you realize that there are beauties in every culture and that we can all learn from one another, the better human being overall you're going to be.
That's a valuable lesson. I think that's something we should all take away. But if that's the first thing we're going to take away from this podcast, it should be that. And Lakshay, you can proceed.
All right, ma'am. Let's get straight into the topic: the youth and the future. So, what this term "youth"? What it means to you?
What do youth mean to me? I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear you last time. I'm sorry.
Yep. It's this. The question is that only. What does youth means to you?
Oh, what do youth mean to me? So I founded Global Scribes, Youth Uniting Nations in 2014 because I, who have run around the world with rose-colored glasses my entire life, was feeling like I had to look over my shoulder for the first time ever. And I happened to be in Helsinki, Finland, which is not a place where there's a lot of disrupt. So it was interesting that it was there in a very peaceful place that I was sort of feeling, whoa, there is this, we're all on this trajectory of chaos and re-entrenchment. And I think this was actually the end of 2013. And so I started to think of, okay, how do we get back to a more peaceful world where people stop thinking me, and start thinking of we, and understanding that we all live on the same planet and that we are stressing natural resources as it is, but that when the population of the planet is becoming increasingly larger and larger and larger and stressing those natural resources and the complexities of human interaction more and more and more, how do we turn that tide? And upon reflection, I decided that the only way that there was a chance, because the world needs more than a Band-Aid, is through our youth. Because our youth, our global youth, need to change the way you think. You need to think we, not me. And you have to understand that we are all just people with more similarities than differences. We need to have you learn to listen, to share, and to compromise. Because if you are only out to win, you will never get anywhere. If you cannot have free discourse and real discourse, sharing ideas, agreeing to not agree, but being able to still come to a solution. If you can only be angry and be in someone's face, you will get nowhere. Over 40% of the world's population today is under the age of 25. And in many countries, that percentage is over 70% under the age of 25. And education, skills have to be a part of the equation of setting our youth up for success, or unemployment will be so rampant that there will be nothing but strife and war. So in my mind, you all need to learn to accept one another, to understand that you're really cool no matter where you come from or what you look like or what your gender is or any of those things, what your religion is, what your politics are. It doesn't matter. We're all just people. And if you can learn acceptance and tolerance, then you can truly be amazing stewards of humanity and our planet. And I think your generation is amazing. You all already come to the table with a completely different skill set because you grew up with the internet, right? So you already have been gaming or you've been doing different things that cross borders and boundaries. And without even knowing it, you may have had people from all over the world on your team. And then when you realize, wow, but I love that avatar that's from Scotland, or I think that guy is really cool, or she is so awesome, whatever. And when you realize, yeah, you are all awesome, that then maybe given an environment that's your own, free from politics, free from religion, and free from any kind of segregation, then maybe you, without the complexities of older people who want to put their ideas onto you, you all have the opportunity and can, it is my belief, you will change the world and it will be able to survive and be filled with abundance.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask you about today's youth, and I think you've worded it really beautifully. I mean, in the United States, we're asked to decide our entire career before we can even open a bottle of wine. And I think the idea of setting an age on your career is completely arbitrary. So what are your thoughts on that?
So I think it's very interesting. And, education right now is going through a lot of transformation. And in fact, we are just starting to work on a pilot program with a high school in New York City, whereby you all can help decide what your curriculum is actually going to be. And even though you have to have the basics, right? You need to have your native language, you should have English, you should have math, and you need to learn how to read and write, right? Other than that, trying to discover what your passions and talents are at a young age will help put you on to a much faster trajectory into what you're going to be excellent at. So, the old adage of having to know by, when you're 14 or 15 or 16 or 17 years old, that you're going to be a doctor, or that you're going to be a scientist, or that you're going to be whatever it is going to be, a chef, whatever. I think that's going to change on one hand. On the other hand, you're going to have to know just as early, but hopefully through platforms like Global Scribes, Youth Uniting Nations, and through Scribers World, you are able to figure those things out at a younger age, because with potential competition for your generation the way that it will be, the faster you get on track with something you love to do and can be very successful at because you love to do it and you don't consider it work, then the better off you'll be. So, that's one of the goals of Global Scribes, and certainly in Scribers World, will be that you can help define what you like to do and what you don't like to do through those 17 teams early, and when you're still young, and give you a chance to play with and discover in an arena where there are no adults, where you feel that you could be criticized or judged, or you're worrying. There are no teachers in the environment. You're not going to be criticized, and there is no failure. And so I think the younger you are, the more things you try, knowing there's no failure in life, the more successful you're going to be. And now we're going to try to take that concept into the school environment. And let's say within GSYUN, on one of your teams, you are on the Green Entrepreneur team, let's say, and your team, along with maybe the entrepreneur team and maybe science and nature, developed a drone that can pick up litter. And you worked on this, and you all got it right through to the end, where you even found a company to build the drone. Then you found a farmer to let you to experiment with it, etc. You can take everything you worked on now to your school and get credit, school credit for that. And this is a pilot that we're going to try with some people. But also at the same time understanding that whatever you do in GSYUN is to have fun, is to learn about yourself, and to start to build a global network, which will only be good for you in your future, right? So I hope I answered your question, but I think it's going to take a long time to change every school, that's for sure. But the more you know yourself, the easier all of it will be.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That's a really well thought out answer, I'd say. Lakshya, you can carry on.
All right. So, ma'am, you mentioned justice in the reply which you give to Raghav. So, ma'am, I want to ask you that there is a difference in sense of judgment and justice when we talk about politics, political parties, and the youth. And this is the issue which is very aggravating nowadays. So what's your stance on that?
Well, so number one, you understand that there are no politics allowed in Global Scribes, Youth Uniting Nations. And the reason for that is that it is my belief that if you we start with a foundation of friendship, and you learn to trust one another and respect one another, then you're open to hearing each other's opinions, and you're receptive to changing your mind, maybe, right? I don't think in politics there's ever one right answer. And I think that there are too many people where their ego gets caught up in the win of the game, as it were, and the purpose, the original intention gets diluted in anger and in frustration and in all of these things. You know, a true diplomat was what I think was a true politician. A person who can be gracious, who can be a gentleman or a gentlewoman, right? Who can have dialogue and can discuss. Trying to assert your beliefs onto someone else, and in particularly by trying to do that with acts of violence, in the long run, get you nowhere. In the long run, you lose the respect of people who could actually be supporting you. So what you've done in trying to move your agenda forward, in my opinion, is actually move yourself way back, because I wouldn't get behind you. If you're feeling that the only way you could get forward is to damage the lives or property of others, I don't respect you. Then you've lost me before you even spoke with me. So I think that politics are very dangerous. And I think that the only way to do that, and why I really believe in your generation, is if you can learn to understand that we are all just people. And everyone wants to love and to be loved. Everyone needs shelter and food and health, right? So when you can start with that foundation and discuss, so that I can understand why it is that you think this would work, and you can hear me, and not just hear me, but actually listen and digest why I think this would work, then maybe we can somehow come to a decision that works for both of us. But if you're only ever yelling at each other, you're only ever thinking it's my way or the highway, you will get nowhere.
So ma'am, let's look at the scenarios which happened in the past. Let's, for instance, take the climate activities which has been going on. We'll be taking example of Greta Thunberg and Chia Bastida. So ma'am, they got on roads and they protested. So do you think it is the right way to address their problems, or there should be a more intellect way of doing that?
Okay, this is again, aside from politics, because again, in Global Scribes, Youth Uniting Nations, and as a representative of that organization which I founded, which has no politics and really no confrontation. That's not why the organization exists. I do believe that sometimes it takes gatherings to get people to listen to you. But if you want people empowered to listen to you, they have to respect you first. They can placate you because they don't want the violence. But if you'd like them to listen to you and really come to the table and they have the power, you have to learn, earn their respect. So how do you do that? You know, it's by, not by pontificating, not by talking, but doing. If you're out there and you're talking about climate change, are you on a beach every single weekend picking up plastic? Are you personally out there working with some scientists to figure out how to get clean water? Prove to me how serious you are. Talk is cheap. Anybody can talk. One of the goals of our platform is to give you all the opportunity to do. If you have an idea, let's figure out how to allow you to get a chance to do it. Let's try it. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Maybe using this filter will work to help us get cleaner air. But if you don't try it and all you do is sit around and talk, that doesn't move us anywhere. If I'm in a seat of power and I'm older, and you come to me like this young Kenyan who has discovered a hand washing, whatever, gadget, I'm more likely to listen to you than that person who's sitting out there protesting, right? So that's how I would hope that you all start to think. It's not about being in a crowd and putting your hand up or holding a sign. Do something with a solution in mind. Show that you're actively trying to come up with a real solution. Then you're going to have people listen to you.
That's a very beautiful idea and practical as well. Raghav, over to you.
In today's world, we're taught that, like, the only reason students don't exactly succeed is because we're pushed to believe that we must be scared of failure. And I think when it comes to being an entrepreneur, you need to accept that you need to make mistakes. But what advice would you give to a student? Let's say you're giving a lecture to 200 students. What advice would you give them to be and accomplish and do something in their lives? What would you tell them?
The only failure in life is not trying. There is no other failure. There are pivot points, right? Oh my gosh, it didn't work. What can I learn from that? I need to pivot. And in life, believe me, as human beings, we make the same mistakes over and over and over again until we finally realize, oh, you know what? That really wasn't very successful. So how do I change that? And sometimes some of us are faster than others at learning how to do that, how to make that pivot. There is no failure in life. Try it. But if you have an intention in mind to sit back and just talk about it, that means nothing to me. Try it. Do it. There's no failure. If it isn't successful, you just learned something. If it didn't turn out because somebody told you that's what you should have done, then maybe that's not what the outcome should have been. Maybe you got to the right outcome. So be very careful in who you trust and believe in, right? But you have to believe in yourself above all. And know that you're a unique, amazing human being. And the more people that you surround yourself with who believe in you, the more you will accomplish in life. Do not allow yourself to be bullied by people that obviously have some kind of insecurity of their own. People who are destructive, who are cruel, who are bullies, have some kind of missing element in themselves. You can either choose to try to help them to see their way clear, or you can choose to remove yourself from that environment and put yourself in a more positive environment. You can do anything in life you put your mind to, and that's everybody. And remember, there is no failure in life, just not trying. You have to try.
That's a really inspiring speech. I mean, I'm sure people are definitely going to listen to that advice. One more thing I wanted to ask you regarding the youth. In today's trying times, I mean, we're using technology and that's how we're able to connect with each other. To what extent do you think it will be successful, or how it can be improved upon? What are your thoughts on the youth collaborating with technology?
So in my mind, and this is why I started Global Scribes Youth Uniting Nations as a virtual organization. We do not have feet on the ground except each of you as individuals, right? And we have some schools and we have some organizations, but it's a truly virtual platform. Because I believe technology can have amazing positive youth impact. When I was growing up, we had teddy bears. In your lifetime, this is your teddy bear. This is going nowhere. And anyone who tries to take away or think that technology is leaving your generation is just not really in tune with what's going on. To me, this is amazing, right? Because to me, you can be connected 24/7 and never feel alone. Social isolation, which, so you know, encompasses youth depression, youth suicide, terrorist groups, bullying, all those things do not need to exist as long as you are connected to people who believe in you and are positive, right? I think we have proven since 2014, so for almost 6 years, that you all can create incredible relationships never having met one another in person. And I will say, you know, we have been trying to get Scribes World, our own app, where you all will have your own pages. There are hero platforms. There is gamification. You're able to archive and showcase your work, whatever it is that you've been working on. You're in teams. There are all these different aspects of it. But it's for youth, by youth, all youth. Youth who are deaf, youth who are blind, youth who are in the hospital, youth who are number A+ in their school, kids who are challenged and they need your help to be their mentors, athletes, non-athletes, artists, etc. All being able to come together and help one another and integrate. And for the first time, we can make that happen because of technology. It is an amazing tool. But until the coronavirus, most people had no idea that you could actually get to like someone and get to know someone and get to understand someone through technology, right? So we've been on Zoom for almost 5 years. Our scribers are showing their teachers, their parents, and adults in the COVID coronavirus time how to use this technology, because they've been using it with us now for so long. I think technology is amazing. It's going nowhere. It's only going to get better. And it doesn't mean that you can be exclusively in tech. You need to get off the tech grid to have experiences to bring back on to the tech grid, right? Go out there, build that drone, build that lake, go pick up plastics, etc., etc. Take your photos, develop your videos, bring it back and share it with everybody on tech.
All right, ma'am. Next question I'm going to ask about is Global Scribes Youth Uniting Nations. So, ma'am, how to join it?
So to join, great question. You can, any youth, all you need to do is be connected. However, to keep the environment safe, you have to either come through your school, come through an organization, or as an individual, if you hear about us, you have to have a video call with one of our scribers, or maybe even me. When we have Scribers World, there will also be some kind of facial or some kind of recognition, because no adults are allowed in the environment with the exception of myself. And again, I'm just the chief happiness cheerleader, and maybe one or two other visitors that come in, but otherwise it's for youth, by youth, all youth. And it's really up to you. You are the policemen. You are the ones who are making sure that no one is older than 25. So our environment starts at age 8, really up to age 21. You can't join after the age of 21, but you can age out at 25, 26. And during that 22 to 25, you're really acting as mentors and helping one another, the people who are younger, right, that are making the transition to university or to your first job or maybe your first corporate or professional position, right? That's the goal.
So, all right, ma'am, before wrapping up today's session, I would like to, imagine a bunch of student, college crowd and, deliver a graduation speech.
In today's environment, you all can be the catalyst for change. Make it positive change. Think about who you are. Think about what you do to make the world a better place. Talking about making the world a better place, people have been talking for years. Go do something. Do something positive. Do something that will help move whatever your personal passion is along. Think about those global SDGs, right? The social development goals. And it doesn't have to be anything big. Think about the elderly person who lives down the street who really needs some help. Think about your local river that you see the pollution and try to figure out, how do we stop the pollution? Do I pick it up right here? Yes. But then do I start my way upriver to see what's causing it? Yes. Can I do it on my own? Yes. Can I do it with friends, family, others? Yes. So my word to you all and to your generation is, you can do anything. You have the most amazing tools available to you. Get busy.
That was a really inspiring speech, and we feel really glad to have met with you, Cynthia, ma'am.
Thank you. It's so great to meet all of you. And I happen to absolutely love your generation. You all are amazing. You inspire me every day.
Thank you so much for this enchanting session, ma'am. So it was me, Lakshya Sharma, with my co-host Raghav, and in conversation with ma'am Cynthia English. Thank you so much for listening.